Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Petroff. I manage user experience for GE, which is a very large company, been around for a long time. And design hasn't been part of the DNA of the culture of the company at all, and we are sort of been challenged to find ways to bring design into a incredibly well-run engineering organization that doesn't really understand design too well. So I'm going to highlight a project that we've been working on for the last 2 years, and it's really about the people who make the planet run, keep things running, the guys who, and gals who keep the jet engines operating on the plane that you flew to come out to the conference, the people who keep the power on, the folks who keep the medical machines at hospitals operating so that clinicians can help you if you need to or find yourself in that kind of situation. So what is it about this space? Well, it's an interesting place. We call these people field engineers. And they have to work in some of the most difficult situations you can imagine. This is a guy who's sitting about 350 feet in the air in the tallest wind turbine in the world, in the nacelle. He has to bring everything up a ladder, right? So there's no elevator that takes you up that space. You have to climb your way up to the top. And he has to operate in an environment that is challenging, to say the least. And these guys, the folks that work in these environments, we haven't really developed software or tools for them. They're late to the technology revolution, and they're not really software people. They're craftsmen. They treasure their tools. They treasure the experience of having an intimate relationship with the machines that they service, and they become sort of connected to them. In a way, they're sort of the machine whisperers of our industrial world. And they work in really interesting environments. Sometimes it's dangerous environments. It's tight spaces. It's places that are difficult for people to get into. You can see this person is, in a water processing space. They have to disassemble these things, put them back together again, and it's a big challenge for them in terms of how to do it. So we've spent a lot of time watching these people at work, and it's one of the nice things about GE. It has so many different businesses that we can sort of study field engineers in locations on an oil platform, in a manufacturing facility, in a hospital, and we can study them in different cultures too around the world and in different weather conditions. And as I said earlier, there are, they have to operate in environments which might be 125 degrees outside, or in an environment where it's minus 40 degrees. So it's a challenging space for people to be productive and get work, and an interesting problem to solve for. So I'll just sort of show some more cool pictures of kind of the space that they get to operate. And one of the things that we've discovered in sort of watching these people at work are a couple of really simple truths. One, nobody respects the context of what they're doing. They don't have actually access to the tools that they need to be successful when they're out on the job. And this environment that they work in infrastructure, they know why they're there. They're being called because there's a failure or there's a repair that needs to be made. We actually know why they're there because we sent them there. The systems that are operating on these machines have sensors in them now that generate tons of data, so we know what's going on in the situation at that moment. But we don't really respect the moment, the environment that they find themselves in, and offer them the information that they need to be successful. So we spent some time sort of looking at this, and the biggest part for them is just sort of understand what I'm doing and I need to accomplish. Make that easy for me. So we've spent a lot of time. Looking at it. This is a picture of a turbo. It's a part of a locomotive. It weighs about 2 tons, and they get removed pretty often because it's the part on a locomotive that breaks the most often. And it's not just fixing what's broken. It's actually they have a lot of decisions to make. Because we know the behavior of how this particular locomotive or this particular turbo has been operated in a context of a larger fleet of systems. And they may make a decision to repair something that's not even broken yet because they already have it out of the machine. So they have a lot of strong decisions that they have to make along the way. And so in that process, repairing what's not necessarily broken is an important part of their decision process. So we also know that there are a lot of remote locations, right? And these people have to wear, safety gloves and goggles and equipment that gets in the way of them being able to have access to computing. They're not normally software people, right? They're people that hold tools. And we've historically given them some degree of software, and if you look in the space, it's really late to modernize. I mean, if they have something, it's a DOS screen with, the green screen of death. And we're at an inflection point. And the irony is that we actually can change their lives pretty radically right now with where we are from a computer science standpoint with cloud and data and analytics and being able to take information off of the machines that we have out in the world. So what happens when we have a platform that knows that you're there? What happens when, if I walk up to a machine, the machine knows I've already arrived at the situation? And what happens when all of the infrastructure and databases and systems that can support you being effective also are aware of that context and moment? And that's the space that we've been really interested in from a design standpoint. So we did a bunch of things. We started looking at how could we build a simple design system for GE as a whole. We built a bunch of prototypes 3 years ago when we started the adventure. We didn't really know what we were making. We made a bunch of different types of applications. We then built that in a way where we could actually build very fast. So we built a design system for engineers to build software with. So we built it and code enabled it. That allowed us to sort of make at the speed that we could think. So we didn't have to think to make, we could make to think. And that enabled us to get smarter along the way. And then because we live in the world, we spent some time on geospatial tools, making mapping more interesting, more valuable for people. And along the way, we also sort of discovered how to provide guidance to people who are building applications. The design team that we have is not large enough to build all the software that's going to get built in GE, so we had to make it in a way that people could create and aggregate and make their software as quickly as possible. We were challenged with some other things, and we were able to actually make really simple, delightful applications that allowed us to prove our point around how design could matter for the folks in the field. We also had to explore new typography. So I love the fact that we're talking about typography today. GE has a really strong typographic branding style to it, except that it was never designed for digital devices. So we had to go and redesign the type experience in GE back to the skeletal side of the typeface and then rebuild it from scratch. So we did that, and that got embedded into the software that we built. And click. And so then basically we came to a new idea, an idea around what we call context-based computing. And this is in the background, what you're seeing here is something we call Predix Go. It's a very simple application that allows the field engineer to have everything that he needs. So we build these micro applications. They're very small and bite-sized. And if I walk up to a piece of equipment, the system will assemble those micro applications automatically into a playlist. And it's sort of like, if you go to the gym and you have your, iTunes list of music that you're going to listen to, we can create a list of software as media, and put that together to make the perfect experience for an engineer. Or field engineer could create their own collections, their own toolkits. And the thing that's cool about it is that you only need to know, 4 motions to be able to use it, sort of left, right, and up and down. And we can support that whether you're wearing gloves or even with motion controllers. So that if you're in a situation where you have, a wrench and tools, it's very easy for people to use it. And what we found when we put this out into the field is that people really liked using it. In fact, there was a lot of speculation that if we gave iPads to field engineers that they would break them or that they would forget them or that they would fall apart. And what we found out is they became these treasured items for them. Like they cared for them so carefully because it was the first time that someone had actually provided them the context that allowed them to do their job and be successful in the moment and have access to all the information that they needed. And in doing that, we created a whole sort of ecosystem of building these kinds of applications very quickly. And now what we can do is we can sit down with a specific field engineer and build an application in a matter of hours and build that and make them more productive. And in that story, actually, we're democratizing the design process. And we hope in that process we'll be able to improve the quality of the infrastructure that we count on in the world moving forward. Thank you.